Hello EFD squad and welcome back to Transfer Review with me in this Dutch windmill to my right, where we take a look at the latest, the greatest and the transfer rumours from the week just past. Starting, unusually, with someone who's rejected Manchester United, according to the Sunday Times, and all their riches, Pato.
Yeah, Gareth Bale, according to the Sunday Times, did reject the chance to join Manchester United in the last few days of the transfer window. Real Madrid were willing to let him go. Of course, he's had a bit of an uneasy relationship with the Madrid press at certain points. He got booed when he came off after that 2-2 draw against Valencia last month. And he's had some injury problems as well, despite being an integral part of those 3 Champions League wins and that 1 La Liga triumph last season and 55 goals in 102 games. They are apparently willing to let the 28-year-old go. Last season, 9 goals, 3 assists in the league because he was barely on the pitch the season before, 19 goals and 12 assists. So now might be a good time to let him go. But what I want to know is, if he did go to Man United, would he really be a long-term upgrade on Anthony Martial, or is this just a short-term fix?
Yes, let's take a look at how the Welshman would compare to the Frenchman, whose position he would no doubt take if he arrived at Old Trafford. Now, last season, in their respective leagues, Bale played 19 times compared to Martial's 25. Despite this, Bale actually put on more key passes, which is opportunities created for his teammates, with 1.3 compared to Martial's 1. Now, Bale, despite this, only assisted 0.13 per game compared to Martial's 0.35. So maybe Martial was creating more clear-cut chances. It's hard to tell without all the data. However, Bale did manage to score 0.5 goals per game compared to Martial's 0.25. But the Frenchman has started the season in very decisive fashion in front of goal, hasn't he, Anthony Martial? I think he's got 2 goals, 2 assists in a ridiculous amount of minutes. Now, in terms of successful take-ons, they both like to beat their man, don't they? They're both known for their raw pace. Bale is averaging 1.65 last season compared to Martial's 2.61. And you'd imagine, given more game time, Martial is only going to improve on that, wherein Bale might be slowing down now. He's 28, he's got recurrent injuries. Who knows? But if you were Jose Mourinho, given the inadequacies at maybe left back and right back, would you splurge all of your cash on someone like Gareth Bale anyway, when you've got Martial, when you've got Rashford, when you've got Juan Mata, who can all come from the bench and make an impact in those wide areas?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I would. I mean, obviously Gareth Bale is a fantastic player, but like you said, he's 28, he's got a lot of injuries. He might be starting to slow down. And I do think that the money could be spent better around the squad. I think the depth in midfield is not particularly great. Obviously, like you said, fullbacks might be a little bit of an issue. And I don't know, it's an awful lot of money, which could probably get you Antoine Griezmann next year, which to me would be a better buy. But of course, we do know that Mourinho likes his teams to be physically superior to their opponents, as well as kind of technically superior. So I suppose it might make sense from that point of view.
I mean, they could probably have both, couldn't they? Do you remember when we were talking to Ted Knutson and he said that Manchester United generate an extra £100 million per year than even their closest rival? So sickeningly, they could probably have Bale this season and Griezmann next season and it not be an issue. But guys, Manchester United fans, football fans, who would you prefer to see don that Manchester United shirt out on the left wing in the Premier League? Let us know in the comments below.
Next up, we head over to Italy, and Juventus are apparently seeking the signature of Liverpool's Emre Can. This, according to Tutto Sport, one of the many reputable news outlets that they have over there.
One of our favourites.
One of the real ones.
Jam-packed, full of nonsense. But yes, they are planning on offering the big German a pre-contract in January, as Liverpool have allowed the midfielder's deal to run down to its final year. And general manager of Juventus, Beppe Marotta, is quoted as saying, "We have said several times we intend to start negotiations with a German international in January." So he's obviously a big fan. He's made no secret of that. And Juve, this is a classic Juve move, isn't it? They're known for being very shrewd, playing the transfer market very well, sort of flirting with people in their final years, seducing them, doing the dance, and this would be no different. The addition of Can, who's only 23 years old, would certainly bring a bit of youthful exuberance to that midfield, wouldn't it? They've just signed Blaise Matuidi, who's also 30. I think Mikizio's 31. Sami Khedira is the same age, I believe, as Matuidi. So they definitely need to bring the average age of that midfield down, don't they? And with sort of his dynamism, his energy, his box-to-box play, he could fill a number of positions, and that's one of his strengths, right? He doesn't excel at any one given thing, but Emre Can is very good at doing a number of things to a high level.
Yeah, and this is something that Juventus had generally gone towards in recent years, except for that one purchase of Pjanic, who is a bit more of a specialist. All their other midfielders are all-rounders, you know, Khedira, Marchisio, Matuidi, like you've said. Before that, of course, they had the best of their type in Pogba and Vidal. So I think that he would kind of slot in. When you look at Claudio Marchisio, since 2006, he's made 280 appearances for Juve, but only 18 last year. So he is starting to slow down a little bit. He's got fantastic technique. We know he's a great passer. 87% of his passes completed last season compared to 82% for Emre Can. But I don't know if he can carry on doing it forever. He's got these persistent injury problems. And like you say, Can, I think he's 23 maybe. As we know, he's relatively versatile as well. He played left back for a while under Brendan Rodgers back in the day. And Juventus, of course, do like to switch around formation too. So that might be interesting. Can, I think, is playing a bit more of an attacking role than Marchisio at the moment because he's producing 1 chance a game while Marchisio's down on 0.4. So I'd say that suggests that they're doing different roles. But then when you look at their tackle numbers, Can's on 1.6 a game, Marchisio on 0.6. So he's actually got slightly better defensive output too. So maybe it's just the legs are starting to go a little bit and that Can might just have that kind of athleticism in his locker, which Juventus will need. Yeah,
and which Jurgen Klopp demands. You can imagine a lot of that front six at Liverpool having an exorbitant output. But what do you think, guys? Let us know in the comments below. As the summer transfer window is now slammed shut and there's not a lot of chatter, we're going to review some of the lesser known transfers instead, starting with Benedikt Höwedes, who went to Juventus from Schalke. What do you make of that tidy little move?
Yeah, well, the German World Cup winning centre-back, who of course can play left-back as well, has moved for an initial loan fee of 3.5 million euros. There is the option to make that deal permanent at the end of the season for just under 15 million euros. If he makes 25 appearances this season, then Juve will be obliged to meet that clause.
Interesting.
Now, they've started the season with back-to-back wins over Cagliari and Genoa. And of course, they're in that tough Champions League group, Sporting CP, Olympiacos and Barcelona. So they'll need Höwedes to hit the ground running, of course, still adapting to life after the departure of Leonardo Bonucci. Chris, let me know.
Yeah, it's not often the old lady loses a player of that calibre, is it? And especially to a domestic rival, given their stranglehold over the Italian league at current. Obviously won 6 Scudettos on the bounce and built the foundations for their success with that impregnable defence of Bonucci, Chiellini and Barzagli protecting Buffon's goal. Now let's take a look at Höwedes' stats compared to the Italians last season. He made 29 appearances compared to Bonucci's 31, and both had a pass accuracy of around 87%. Bonucci obviously known for his pinpoint passing, so maybe Höwedes can help fill that void. However, the big German did win more tackles per game, 1.3 to Bonucci's 0.8, although you'd imagine Chiellini was on tackling duty in that defence, using Bonucci for obviously that distribution from the back to start those lightning fast counter-attacks. He was also making more interceptions, the German, with 4. That's pretty impressive, to Bonucci's 2.2. The fact that Höwedes didn't make a single error as well that led to a goal in the Bundesliga last season can only be good news for the old lady, for the fans of the Turin club, who've got the likes of Mehdi Benatia waiting in the wings as well to fill that hole left by Bonucci. I think they're in a pretty decent position moving forward, and Pato, can anyone stop them in Serie A this season?
It's hard to say, isn't it? I mean, obviously they've got that ageing back line that you were talking about before. It's been fantastic up till now, but they are starting to tick past 30, a lot of them. So it'll be interesting to see whether they can start building a new generation while retaining that stranglehold on the league. But let us know in the comments below if you think anyone can beat Juventus to the title this year. Next up, and we say this every summer, Borussia Dortmund doing great business. They brought in Andrei Yarmolenko from Dynamo Kiev. Tell me about him, Chris.
Yeah, well, obviously Barcelona had a frustrating summer, didn't they, in their efforts to sign Coutinho and Di Maria, so went in big for Borussia Dortmund man and 20-year-old Ousmane Dembele for an initial fee of 96.8 million, potentially rising to 135. And this meant that the BVB club needed someone to fill his boots out wide, and the man they bought in to fill that hole, as you said, was Andrei Yarmolenko from Dynamo Kiev for an undisclosed fee on a 4-year contract. Now, he's a good age, He's only 27. He's a free-scoring winger for both club and country. He notched an impressive 137 goals in 339 games for Dynamo Kiev, and he scored 29 in 69 for Ukraine. Now, it's that sort of form that helped the Kiev club win 3 Ukrainian Premier League titles, and he's actually, before this, attracted a host of interest from Europe's top clubs, haven't they? But they've found it really difficult to get him out of Ukraine.
Yeah, well, I think that actually we can compare him to Ousmane Dembele, and I'm going to do that a little bit, but he's much more positionally versatile. Of course, he can play up front as well, and so that gives them a little bit more depth at striker, whereas previously they were relying on someone like Adrian Ramos behind Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. This means that if Royce comes back and Pulisic makes that position his own, which I think we all think he will in the near future, then Yarmolenko might be employed as much more of a conventional forward. But let's take a look at his numbers versus Dembele to see whether he can fill that gap left by the Frenchman. 83% pass completion last season compared to Dembele's 74%, but Dembele was creating 2.1 chances per game to Yarmolenko's 1.8. So what that suggests to me is that Dembele plays riskier passes than Yarmolenko. Dembele also averaged 0.6 assists per game. That's mental. That's more than 1 assist every 2 games. That's crazy. Yarmolenko, 1 assist every 5 games, so not really comparable there. But as we were saying, maybe plays a little bit more centrally because his shooting is way more accurate than Dembele's. 23% of Dembele's shots are on target, 71% of Yarmolenko's test the keeper. So he's going to be the superior goal scorer, you'd have thought, but an inferior creator. He's also not as good a dribbler. He completes 40% of his take-ons, where Dembele's at nearly 60%, above Ronaldo and Messi in terms of take-on completion. And of course, that's not because he's trying the odd take-on and just managing to get past his man. This is a guy who led the Bundesliga in completed dribbles last season. Above Pulisic, above Robben, above Naby Keita. Really impressive stuff. But Yarmolenko, 25 million euros, next to nothing. I think this is a great move. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely fantastic. As you say, I don't think they're going to get 16 assists out of Yarmolenko. He's much more predatory in that regard. But I think we should send it over to the Bundesliga fans and the Dortmund fans. What do you think to Yarmolenko's signing? Let us know in the comments below. Last but not least, we head over to the Principality of Monaco now to take a closer look at their signing of Stefan Jovetic, who's on the cusp now, Pato, of becoming a bit of a journeyman. Despite, I am a fan of him, but he needs to settle somewhere, doesn't it?
On the cusp of becoming a bit of a journeyman.
There you go.
Yeah.
Double.
Interesting.
Look,
I think we all quite rate Jovetic. And the thing is, it was obviously a summer of upheaval at Monaco. They brought in 13 players, let people like Mbappe, Mendy, Bernardo Silva, Bakayoko go. Jovetic is actually one of the more experienced players they brought in. Of course, they got in Jordi from Barcelona's academy and a bunch of young guys. Whereas Jovetic, a bit more experienced, of course, played in La Liga, Serie A and the Premier League. He's actually not really a conventional striker, is he? No. He likes to drop deeper and dribble. He arrived for only £10 million and he's got a 4-year deal. As Chris says, his 5th club in 4 years. He's been a main man for Montenegro, that's his national team, since 2007. He's got 23 goals in 46 for the side, which when you consider they obviously play in UEFA, the competition is pretty tough. So those are quite good numbers. And they're going to need him and Keita Balde to really hit the ground running if they're going to fill the void left by all those attacking stars who've gone this summer. How would he stack up against someone like Mbappe?
I actually think Keita Balde Diao is going to be the more like-for-like replacement for the outgoing Kylian Mbappe. Obviously, the Senegalese striker got 16 goals for Lazio last season, the highest of any under-23 player in Serie A. So he looks like an extremely exciting transfer. But let's compare Jovetic to Mbappe anyway, just to see how he squares up. Now, Jovetic only made 21 La Liga appearances last season, compared to Mbappe's 29 in the league. So even though Mbappe broke onto the scene relatively late, a couple of months into the season, he actually edged him in terms of total appearances made, but they were creating around 1 chance per game, similar to one another. So in terms of creative powers, Jovetic, no problems there. In terms of assists though, Mbappe came out convincingly on top. That's 8 compared to Jovetic's 4. A little bit alarming for Jovetic as well, because I remember him going off like a rocket when he arrived at Sampaoli's side. I think he got 2 goals against Real Madrid and maybe a couple of assists as well in his first 4 or 5 games. So not sure why that slowed up completely. Maybe Sampaoli stopped playing him, who knows. But he also scored Mbappe 15 goals compared to Jovetic's 6. Now, check this out. This is the biggest golfing class in terms of shot accuracy. Kylian Mbappe far exceeded the Montenegrin on 76%. That's probably a little bit unsustainable compared to Jovicic's 49. So a lot more decisive in front of goal, the Frenchman. Now, although these stats don't compare favourably, not many people would, given the 6 months that Mbappe had at Monaco, and I think Jovicic is a really good squad player. He's a decent addition, and this is sort of what Monaco do, don't they? They either buy youngsters like Keita, who are going to have massive resale value in the future, and then they plug these gaps with people like Jovicic, who can contribute a goal here, an assist there, and play, you know, against Cayenne before a big Champions League game. So we think it's a decent signing, but what do you guys think? How are Monaco going to fare? Will they compete with PSG this season in Ligue 1? Let us know in the comments below.
So that was this week's transfer review, but who do we miss out and which moves would you like to have seen us cover? Let us know in the comments below.
Yes, and as always guys, if you enjoyed this, then go and check out more great content on EFD like Stat Wars, Football Mundial and Continental Club. All of the above, all good.
And make sure you like and subscribe.
Yeah, that as well.